everyone. Thanks for joining us again. This is Yuri Ezips from CSM Practice, and I'm here because of Rocket Lane, who's sponsoring these video series for Pulse Conference, or at Pulse Conference, I should say, 2022 in San Francisco. Thanks, Sri, for sponsoring these video series.
Thanks for doing this with us, Great.
Oh, absolutely. All right, and we have a special guest today, Mike Sasaki.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and you had a speaking session at the conference.
Yeah, I just got off stage. Got off stage and went well. It was a lot of fun.
Good. What was your session about?
It was about using data for proper customer segmentation, engagement, and creating a customer-centric culture. So it's a lot in there.
No, but it's really important because a lot of us just think about segmentation. Oh, we need to segment it so it correlates with whatever sales does. But I would think do you think that that's a good thing, or maybe we should embrace our own way of segmenting things?
Definitely, that question's leading. We should embrace our own way of doing things that follows the data. I think a lot of what CSMs do is based on what they've done in the past. Over-servicing customers is a big thing. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Especially for startups, right? They want every customer to be successful, and then they go to 50, 100 customers, and they still want everybody to be. But at some point, you actually need to say, hold on, we need to actually have an appropriate engagement depending on what. So what did you segment about?
I'll get into that secret sauce. The reason that we want to segment and look at the data is that we are over-servicing customers, and it's really important you don't do that, first of all, but it's really important that you understand what it takes to lose a customer. That might sound funny or controversial, but we all know what it takes to save a customer, and CSMs are really good at that, but they're probably over-servicing. And so what you need to look at is the data, and the importance score is what we call it. There's some different models that we have, and we brought in a data analyst on our team to help us with the modeling. And so we have different inputs, transactions, NPS score, revenue, of course. And what we found is that to achieve our NRR goals, we don't have to support all customers. And saying that maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, would have been controversial, and Tech Touch was the solution. And I'm going to be very vulnerable here that Tech Touch has never worked for me. I struggle with it. That's really the way that you need to think about it. But I will say that onboarding customers is super important. And once you can onboard customers the right way, then it makes managing a customer that much easier. And then you can properly segment and also have a nice ratio of customers per CSM that is growing over time.
Well, you said a lot of things. I want to break them down into different pieces. First of all, you said you had what kind of score?
Customer importance score.
I've never heard of that score. Is that another pretty word for health score, or is it something completely different?
Yeah, something more. It's more about our business. It includes health. It includes maturity. You've heard of customer maturity indexes, which is actually really important, right? The CMI. Transactions, trends, things like that. And what it'll tell you, the ultimate outcome of having a customer importance score is understanding who you need to engage with and who you don't.
That serves your segmentation.
Yes. It drives our segmentation. So it's not our gut. It's not my gut telling me who to segment, who to cover. It's really the data showing it. And then once you can segment, you can decide on how you engage.
So you're saying, for any of you that are still segmenting by ARR and logo importance, check this out. You can do it in a much more sophisticated way that actually is inclusive of many different criteria to say, should I be serving this customer with a higher touch model? So how many touch models do you have? Obviously, you don't have a tech touch, but do you have white glove, high touch, mid touch, just in time?
Yeah, mid touch is tricky. Mid touch becomes high touch, especially if it's one CSM that has to do both. Then everything's high touch. So high touch and low touch, right? Those are our main models that we're moving into. And it doesn't mean that a customer that has the highest revenue, highest ARR is automatically high touch. And that's where we're really rethinking things. So there are customers that if I do a lot or if I do a little, they renew and they expand at the same rate. So really understanding that, looking at the data and testing things out. I think that's really important for CSMs and for the leadership to support CSMs testing out different things, so different engagement models.
Is there also an element of the customer telling you what they want in terms of hey, we don't need these monthly cadence of meetings? Is that a consideration? Is that a factor?
Absolutely. So customers tell you things all the time and not always with their words. So we were in a position where we were sending out monthly reporting. Are customers looking at it? We don't know. We stopped doing it. They didn't ask for it again. It's like, okay, well, they weren't looking at it, right? So they're telling us with their inactivity in that case. Other times, they'll verbally tell us, look, we don't need a business review every quarter. And I don't measure CSMs on how many business reviews they do. So the CSM is empowered to say, okay, great, twice a year, perfect, we'll do it.
So just to put things in context, how many customers overall, like is it hundreds, thousands that your team manages?
It's hundreds.
Less than 1,000. And so what's the coverage? What's the CSM to customer ratio?
Yeah, so we are fortunate in that, I've heard a lot of ratios that were scary a little bit to me, but it's 10 to 15 customers per CSM.
Fairly high touch, I would say.
Yeah, it can be, but we need to scale to a point where we're 20 per CSM. So that's the goal.
Ranks that you're going to get to hire CSMs.
Exactly.
You can't hire infinity number of CSMs just because this is the ratio.
That's exactly right.
Hence the segmentation too.
Yeah, and the capacity planning. That's what I talked about on stage, is a 5-year capacity plan that shows over time the CSMs will gain efficiencies and the product will improve and we will be able to cover more customers with the same number of CSMs.
And the same engagement level. Because you're more sophisticated, data-driven, technology-enabled.
The engagement level may change, but the outcomes won't.
Okay, I find it really hard to do capacity planning when the entire segmentation is based on a score that might change daily.
It is. I always bring in partners to help me. So a finance partner to help me understand that. And health score and importance score, we look at it for over a period of time. So it won't fluctuate that much. A lot of the inputs are not inputs that fluctuate a lot per day.
Okay, so that's important to know.
Yeah.
And you first came up with that importance score based on predictive analytics?
Yeah, so our data team that sits under me in customer success, they came up with that importance score and the inputs that come in and how to model it. And they're a lot smarter. That I would suggest that. Partner with those that are a lot smarter than you. Then it makes your job a lot easier.
They're data analysts. They know how to crunch that data and give you some outputs, do things in a more sophisticated manner.
That's right.
When did you start doing this new segmentation model?
Yeah, so we have been looking into it for a year. With downturn in the economy coming, it gets even more important to get ahead of that as a CS leader and understanding that these pressures, these macro pressures, are going to lead you to an accelerated segmentation and an engagement model that has to look a lot like where we're heading.
If there is a change in your approach towards any of your customers, they were high on the importance score, the model is now telling you, hey, they probably just need like low touch engagement. Do you have any communication going to the customer around, hey, we're going to change our approach to CSM with you?
That's a question I got on stage, actually. Yeah, it was like, how do you message that, right? And I think the key for me, and others may disagree, but the key for me is that they are going to be upset. They're going to have a reaction, and they should. And if they want to talk to me, we can let them know and inform them, educate them that their outcomes are not going to change. And that's probably the most important thing, right? They have a direct line to me, but I'm not interested in trying to convince them that this is a good thing for them. I think the feeling is the feeling, and then you got to separate their emotion from the actual business outcomes that will still continue to drive.
Well, ideally, though, if the importance score is reflective of their engagement tendencies, then it should be a natural transition. Is this not the case?
Well, I think the customer's perception of the situation may be different.
They have it. They know it's kind of like an order. They know they have it. They're not using it. So you change it to meet what they're actually using. And then they're like, whoa, I don't want to lose all this stuff. And
Exactly. It's a loss.
it was comforting to know that it's
Exactly.
there, even though I wasn't using it.
Yeah, it does feel like a loss to them, right? And no one wants to pay for the same amount, same thing, and have less. In theory, that's what's happening. So it's a tough conversation, for sure. But it's what needs to happen.
Right. Otherwise, your team can't scale. They can't really do the appropriate. So what you really developed here, I think it's super innovative, and I love that, right? Proof is in the pudding sounds like
Yeah, no.
But I really love it because it's very customer-centric. It's much more scalable model without having to heavily invest in technology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like taking a high-touch model and infuse it with some just-in-time or just as needed. It's a more of tailoring the appropriate engagement to the customer. And I think some companies can afford that. especially if you have hundreds of customers. I think if you have like 17. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too early, but once you get to that number.
Yeah, there are macro things that are forcing this creative solution, but there is also, this is my 5th year at Mitek. So if you look at the year's journey of the CS leader, first year, 17 customers, you just got to prove that you can make them successful. And you do everything to do that, anything to do that. But year 5, it is about scalability. It is about efficiency gains. It is about P&L. You know, a lot of customer success leaders don't know their P&L numbers, and it's really important that you get to that point.
And a few years back, TSIA did a research, and they said that 30% of the customers that did not renew in year 1, the main cause was the onboarding. And earlier you mentioned that one of the most important things that you invested in was on the onboarding phase. Tell us a little bit about that. What did you share?
That was a game changer for us. We realized that customers' trajectory was set in onboarding, and the amount of customers a CSM can manage, if they're all in a great spot after onboarding, in the same spot, then the CSM's job is easier. But if the customer is in a different position than all the other customers, and the CSM inherits this customer, it's really hard because you're doing one thing here, this customer is in this position, the implementation isn't great. So we invested in our onboarding program led by our director of customer success, and it's made all the difference in accelerating time to value, but also NPS health scores are really good, engagement's really good, and it's predictable. We know that customer's going to be in a good position after they exit onboarding, and we define onboarding as not when they go live, but when they achieve value for the first time. That's when onboarding's done for us.
What was the main thing that you changed in the onboarding phase, looking back like from a year ago?
Yeah, so we built a program around it, and RACI of some sorts. We knew what we're going to do. The evolution for us now is how to scale it. A lot of it is human involvement. We've proven it works. The outcomes are what we want, but it's become programmatized. That's the big key. And visibility is also there for our management team.
Does it feel like now you have more control over the onboarding process, whereas before maybe the customer was driving?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I forgot that was our main pain point, and that's where we focus is like we need to guide. We need to guide the customer.
What kind of solutions are you using in terms of what is your technology stack for CS?
Yeah, so we use customer success software. We're actually in the market for one, and we're narrowing that down. We need an onboarding software. And Salesforce, of course, and big Tableau users, Snowflake as well. Yeah, so those are the main systems that we use. And we run meetings out of systems. So we've gotten away from PowerPoints, and we'll run our meetings out of our systems, which is great.
That's cool. Okay, well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing this. It's actually such an innovative approach. I hope a lot of people took something out of it to kind of like experiment in your own kitchens, CS kitchens, to see something like that might work for you as well. And I want to thank again to Rocket Plane for this amazing video series. I definitely learned a lot, and I hope everybody that's viewing these videos are also taking like a glimpse of what happened here, even though they weren't able to make it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care.